got a big battle in front of us, baby. And it's just started. So let's get funky like a monkey. For 15 years, the American dream has done it with you. Don't fail me now. Lord, don't fail me now.
2 weeks off, but the Wrestlebros are back.
Yeah, brother. Ready to rock and roll, man. Let's do it.
Oh, how you feeling, Lou?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Just itching to talk some wrestling, man. Itching, man. I'm itching, brother. I gotta scratch this itch, brother.
That's always nice.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Scratching the itch. Well, I guess a good way to start is with Zelina Vega. Being really
we're going for the main event song first, brother. Holy smokes. All right, let's do it.
Let's go with Zelina Vega.
Let's go with the lead story, huh?
You know what I'm saying? One of my homegirls.
Yeah, man.
They did her dirty, man.
Well,
what the hell is that? What's going on, man? Like, so WWE thinks it's smart to just shit on all of their talent. Look, I get it, but I don't get it. None of this makes any sense. I think this is a huge mistake. You know, people are making, additional income by sitting at a webcam or, on a video game or, sending messages to fans. And there's many ways to go about this. Hey, this seems wrong. If I'm Vince, right? This doesn't seem fair to me. I made you a star. So what I'm going to do is this. This is additional income that you're getting. I'm just going to take that away. I'm not going to replace it. I do not have a game plan for you to replace it. Now, you can do it under the WWE umbrella, but it'll come out of your downside. So it's not even extra. So it's not even something on the side. So it's nothing extra. Now, this money wasn't going to come to me no matter what. But the fact that you're getting money without me, that needs to stop. Look, I can tell you right now, if I was one of the boys or one of the girls and I was in that locker room, I'd be telling everyone, my advice would be, we need to get the hell out of here immediately. Now, if you're a young wrestler, you haven't made it yet, like you haven't started making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, and you've only been with the company 1 year, 2 years, okay, I'd bite 5 more years and wait till I got $1 million in the bank. Everybody else, these acts that's been there 10 years, 8 years, or working on top for 5 years, whatever it is, I got a couple million in the bank already. Bye. I am done. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. It really took AEW showing up for the talent to start getting money that they probably could have been paying them. They could have paid them this. I get it. From the business side, you don't want to pay them as much as you can, right? Or as much as they deserve. You want to get them for as little as possible, and that's fine. That's fine. But when that WWE network came out of nowhere and pay-per-view was no longer a thing and you weren't giving pay-per-view bonuses anymore, did you replace that? I don't think so. I don't think you gave people a WWE network bonus. I don't remember that being a thing. Like, how does this work now? Like, how are we paying the boys and girls? How are they making extra money? Is the downside bigger than it was, 10 years ago? Now it is. If you had a contract, if your contract was up in the last year, then yes, now you good. But if you signed the contract 3 years ago, sorry, pal, you're shit out of luck. So this is messed up. This is messed up.
Well, let me take your points probably one by one. So I agree with you. The in the premise of the WWE essentially saying to their talents who are trying to make supplemental income by doing Twitch streams, the OnlyFans sites and all other type of third party deals. WWE is making a mistake by saying we want to have our own, we want to be able to control this as well. This is the reason why I believe that WWE is doing the wrong by this, is because they're trying to take something that these people, individuals, have had probably before they got to the WWE, or maybe when these things actually became profitable enterprises for them, especially during this pandemic time where, let's face it, if you're a pro wrestler, unless you're working for the WWE or for AEW in the United States of America, you're not making any money, because independent wrestlers ain't making jack squat because there's no events to run. So unless you're working for like a television wrestling company, you're not making any money. So what did these wrestlers do? They're just saying, hey, listen, we're not making live event, money, because that's down the train. So now we're living on our downside guarantees. Now, yeah, mind you, maybe the downside guarantees might be more with the advent of AEW. But with all due respect, if the WWE watches AEW now and sees what they have produced over the last year, I don't think that the talents whose contracts are coming up, the WWE is not going to be as they're not going to be as jumpy about giving them more money like they were before AEW started, when it was more of an idea of like, hey, we don't know what this is going to be. I think the WWE will be less inclined to do that. However, the thing that's going to make this a very difficult transition is that now we're talking about the one word in professional wrestling that so many wrestlers have wanted but has never been successfully done: unionization. If you're talking about creating a union, it's now you're talking where it'll be a collective, where now creating a union will then allow the wrestlers and the wrestling companies to, now they have to do some kind of collective bargaining. That is going to be great for the individual wrestlers, for the people as human beings. It's going to be fantastic for them because they're going to have more negotiating power. They're going to get benefits. They're going to be able to be looked after. And it's not, and God forbid, if they get hurt in the line of duty, it's not that it's going to be something that is going to, can leave them destitute. They're going to be, they're going to be, things in place that are going to allow them to be looked after. I think it will be ostensibly the end of the professional wrestling industry as a whole. It'll be the end of it. Professional wrestling as we know it will be dead, and now it will be looked at like any other television entity. The way that people negotiate with actors, and they have agents and they have all this stuff. It will know professional wrestling has been going in this direction for a very long time now, but that will be the final nail. It'll be done. Pro wrestling will evolve into something else, but it won't be professional wrestling as we know it. Now, this is something where if I'm looking at the WWE, I would tell them, do yourselves a favor. You can call Zelina Vega. Let's renegotiate this, because what's ending up happening is that she's becoming the biggest babyface in the industry by doing something. And I laugh when I think that this little tiny woman's got the biggest balls in the professional wrestling industry, because she did what nobody else would, and that's stand up for herself and say no. So for that, I applaud her. She did the right thing. She's doing the right thing for herself personally, and I think that ultimately she might be doing the right thing for the professional wrestling business, for the wrestlers in the business, if they're able to unionize. If that happens, and I think that it will, because there's way too many things now coming full steam. The WWE, it's like, you got to realize now that, the presidential election, the Democrats have won, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are now going to be the incoming administration. Andrew Yang is going to have a lot of teeth within the administration, whether he's named as part of their cabinet or if he has access to the people who are named to the cabinet. He's coming after the WWE in terms of the labor practices that they have. And now the WWE does this, and it's so public because with social media and all this stuff. And now you have Gabrielle Carteris, who is the president of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA. She's basically saying, I'm going to start talking now. We're going to start talking now to professional wrestlers and see if there's a way that we can, put pro wrestlers as part of the union in SAG-AFTRA. At that point, what can the WWE do? Are they going to tell their wrestlers, hey, if you join the Screen Actors Guild union, we're going to fire you? You can't do that for everybody. You can't do that to everybody. There's going to come a point where the WWE is either going to have to sit down and negotiate, do some kind of bargaining with their talents, or and I have an eerie feeling this is going to be the thing that is going to finally cause the McMahon family to sell the WWE and just sell it outright and get out of the wrestling business, because they're not willing. I think that these guys are a little too old school, and I don't know if they're willing to deal with a union in professional wrestling. So I think this is a drama, a real life drama that is building, and I'm very interested to see what comes out of this.
All right, that's exciting. All right, how about we talk little Drew McIntyre, who's had an interesting couple of weeks. So he loses the title to Randy Orton at Hell in a Cell.
How long ago was that? About a month ago, if that?
Not a month ago. 3 weeks.
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. So you make this huge change, which I don't think anybody minds it, because we figure Drew can get back to the top. You can tell a better story to get him to the title. You can do that whole thing all over again. Randy's doing great work. He kind of deserves a little push. It's all good, baby. It's all good.
A huge push. He was the WWE champion, even if it was only for 3 weeks. There's no bigger push than that.
Well, for Randy, well, he's getting another chance to shine. We know he's not gonna hold this forever, but we figure we're gonna get a nice little story for Drew before we get him back to the title. Yeah, so I guess WWE did not book backwards like they should, and they forgot that Survivor Series was coming up, and of course they could do heel versus heel. I don't think it's a babyface heel problem though. I think it's a Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton problem. I guess that match wasn't good enough for them, so they needed to put a better match on, or a bigger match. So Drew needed the title. So at least they gave him time, a 24-minute match on Raw.
It was great. It was a fun match.
Yeah. So they
really good.
Good match, But what are we doing? I can go on in so many directions right now. I don't even know where to go, because this is for me, it's frustrating. You have all these pay-per-views that force you to book. It's like you force yourself when you can do anything you want. It's your company. You can do whatever you want. You have you can't do whatever you want, but
we get it though. You have a lot of flexibility. You got a lot of
resources. They have more wrestlers on hand. They got more old wrestlers, more young wrestlers, more legends. They can do almost whatever the hell they want. So many options, so many ways to be creative. And it's like, no, well, we came up with this thing 3 years ago. However, it's probably been 6 years now. How long has it been since they started doing brand versus brand Survivor Series? It's been a while, right?
Oh, yeah, last several years. I mean,
probably 3 or 4 years, maybe.
Oh, longer than that. It might be the Survivor Series. I'll say at least the last 5 or 6 years, but the whole brand on brand, because they used to have that WWE bragging rights pay-per-view, which was awful.
No, I'm talking about exclusively on Survivor Series.
Survivor Series, Yeah, I'd say the last 5 or 6 years. That's pretty fair. I don't have an accurate depiction of that, but
So,
I would say that's fair.
Look, I get it. Survivor Series is a tricky one. You used to do these matches, where it was all these was it 5-on-5s? All these 5-on-5
Teams of 5 strive to survive.
Elimination matches, and I know those are hard. Those are difficult. Look, don't overcomplicate this. Have one match 5-on-5, and that's it. It doesn't. It's like, what are we overthinking? You don't have to have everyone face everyone because it doesn't make sense. It just, none of it makes any sense. You forced yourself into like this crazy corner where you feel like now, the match is not good enough. So now you're trying to give us a good pay-per-view. Thanks, finally. So we're gonna give you Drew McIntyre versus Roman, which is huge. It's huge.
That's a huge match, and it shouldn't be on this show.
Two guys that have actually been booked pretty well.
Very well.
So you have two guys that are, on top of their game, being booked properly. Everything is going well. What do? Let's make them face each other. Okay. Yes, it could be a great match. I don't think that matters right now. You gotta
it goes over.
You gotta have a story for these guys if you're gonna make them fight each other. They're fighting for no reason. You're giving away a WrestleMania level caliber match.
Correct.
Especially when you rely on all these old guys, no offense, but all these people who've been with the company 15 plus years, 18 plus years, it's like, you don't need that. You have all this young talent that you refuse to give opportunities to. You have two of the, pretty much the two faces of the company that you established in 2020. Okay, these for sure are two faces, we're building around these two guys, for sure. We've done a good job with these two guys. So let's force them together when you can tell such a better story. It's like, why are you forcing this? I get it. It's a better match than the Randy Orton match. But Randy Orton, at least, you can beat Orton. You can beat him no fucking problem. You can beat him no problem. You can beat him. If Roman beats Orton, and he can even cheat.
Here's the reason why they can't do that. They, meaning WWE, can't book to have Roman Reigns beat Randy Orton clean or to beat him by cheating. Because you then ostensibly, whether you think so or not, you kind of make Randy Orton a baby face.
I don't think so.
The idea would be is to have Roman Reigns will probably go over on Drew McIntyre. He's going to cheat. He's going to probably low blow him. He's going to do all the same things. The reason why that would work, and as much as I don't like the idea of having Drew McIntyre lose right now, excuse me, but that puts more sympathy on him versus if it's done to Randy Orton, the audience member doesn't care.
I'm okay with the audience member not caring because you've booked yourself into this stupid ass pay-per-view. You added these rules or whatever that you think you need to follow when you can do whatever the hell you want.
I listen. I agree. I don't like the concept that Survivor Series has taken. This year's Survivor Series as a whole is a very underwhelming card. Now, WWE is basically one Survivor Series to be brand versus brand, and I'm saying that really shouldn't be the case. If you want to have a brand versus brand thing, you can have the 5-on-5 men's match, 5-on-5 women's match, Raw versus SmackDown, and then have that be the whole brand versus brand thing, and then everything else can just be matches that are storyline based from both sides. I don't think that you need to, for lack of a better term, you got to try to squeeze in all these different matches. Now, to speak to the subject we're talking about, which is McIntyre against Roman Reigns. Yes, that is a better matchup. When there was Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, I was like, who cares? Because I've seen the match before. I've seen it. And it's not a matter, listen, this version of Roman Reigns and this version of Randy Orton, it's going to be a completely different match than anything we've seen in the past. But at the same time, there are two heels. And if you, in a match like that, you want to have somebody to cheer for. And the person to cheer for is McIntyre. Now, should McIntyre have lost the title in September to only win it back, or in October, excuse me, to win it back, 3 weeks later on Raw? The answer is no. That's ridiculous. You could have put the belt on Orton at SummerSlam and then have him hold it until last night on Raw. Then that would have made a little more sense because you have whatever 8, 9, 10 weeks to tell that story. It would have made more sense there. But to do it with only 3 weeks, it's like, guys, that's just it's silly. It's no good. But
not only that, this brand thing, WWE doesn't understand that when you go brand versus brand, that only works if you have a true brand split.
Correct. And they don't.
They don't.
And they don't.
They've had people showing up on each other's shows constantly, it feels like, every week.
And here's but you also got to look at it this way. The WWE has more than enough talent in terms of bodies to have an actual brand split. The problem is that they don't have enough people over. And we've already discussed this in previous videos about get rid of the brand split altogether and just have everybody be on every show until you get enough people over. Until you get enough people over that you can do brand splits and people will care. And then after that, you should not do you shouldn't have to do the draft every year. The draft should be something that should be very random. It could be every 18 months, 2 years, 6 months, whatever. But it's got to be when you realize these shows are getting stale, something here is off. No matter what we're doing and how we're trying to massage it, the pieces aren't working. Then you do the draft, and you do that, in accordance in a base, and do that very well. And you could tell stories, and you got to have authority figures on both shows, not general managers. But I like what they're doing with Adam Pearce as being like he's like quietly being made the authority figure. I think if you had him, and even though William Regal is fantastic on NXT, but you can put him back on one of those main roster slots, and he'd be great too. And then you can have the two of them kind of being the quote unquote authority figures within the WWE, Raw and SmackDown, and then kind of tell the stories that way. But man, oh man, this is a very underwhelming card, and
let's go through it.
Let's go through it. But I'm not overwhelmed by any means.
All right, you got Lashley against Sami Zayn.
Who cares?
Well, obviously, who cares for all the matches because there's no stories.
Okay, but no. But all right. So let's just take with this match, right? You have two heels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing about it is that both heels are over for two very different reasons. Mm-hmm. Bobby Lashley is over because of the fact that they've booked him to be a monster within the Hurt Business, and the Hurt Business as a unit with MVP as the mouthpiece, and then you have Shelton, Cedric Alexander, and Bobby Lashley. They've gotten over as a unit, very, very strong. A guy like Sami Zayn is a guy that works very good matches, and he's got a mouth. His mouth is gold. He can, he annoys the hell out of me, but at the same time, I look at him and I'm like, the dude is talented. The problem is that when you put those two guys together, it's a who cares match because, again, you can't. This is where it's like the no heel, no babyface thing. It's like it's not that you have to match heels versus babyfaces, but if whoever goes over, does it really matter? Is anybody going to remember it the following day? The answer is no. That's why I'm saying that it doesn't matter.
Well, yes, but that's the whole show. Because they're not, you can't even tell a story after the show because they're on different brands. But I do like that, like you said, Lashley's presented as an ass kicker. Zayn is presented as a savvy guy who can find ways to win, and they've been doing it. That's the one thing. Sammy doesn't shut his mouth. You can tell that guy, you're going to hear his ideas, whether you like it or not. So he's back there like, look, let me find creative ways to win so that when I face Lashley, at least the audience knows that I can find a creative way to beat him. I'm not supposed to win, but I do have tricks in my bag. I do have ways to win.
Yes. The only one thing, and this is just like a lighthearted thing, I would recommend Sammy please get a haircut. Just please.
When he goes babyface, he can get a haircut. I like his.
I don't. I like the
hat. I like the jacket.
I mean, with all due respect, he looks like a redheaded Fidel Castro. And I think that's what he's going for. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, just please. I'm like, please cut your hair.
That's great. That's great heat, if you ask me.
A little hair trim. Well, that's not going to get you heat in 2020 because the audience of today don't know who Fidel Castro is.
Yes,
So,
they
no.
don't know, but this is good. This is good. Look, it's wrestling. You can kind of play with your character. I say you take people who already exist, right? Because that's the problem with wrestling. It's like the characters are way too simple. It's like I'm bad because I cheated to win. That's fine, but every character can't be I'm bad because I cheated to win. I want to see some interesting people. Like, I'm sorry, that's just me personally. I'm an adult. I'm not a kid.
Well, I mean, listen. I like what I'm seeing out of Sami Zayn. I'm not in love with his look, but I like what I'm seeing with him when he's in the ring. So, as far as I'm concerned, I like both guys because they're over for two very different reasons. I just don't think that they need to be working against each other.
No one on this card. Look, you just forget about that. No one on this card should be working with each other. At least not the way it's a brand split. I don't want to see you guys together. If you guys were separated for 8 months and didn't see each other, didn't look, didn't touch, perfect.
Maybe
let's make a super card, and that'll be great. But even then, you're just piecing people together that don't make sense. Like when you do a cool super card, let's say with two promotions, and that's the problem. They have Raw and SmackDown. They should treat it like two promotions, not in real life, but
I get what you're saying.
They should be so different from each other that you think it's literally being run by different people.
Yep.
And they should have literally. There should be different writers, like which they've done in the past. But the problem is, if Vince is overseeing both, it's still
the filter is the same.
Yes, it's the same filter. So the writers are writing the same way. No, you need one filter on each show. Whatever. Different writers on the shows, different production teams on the shows, like whatever. Different directors, different set design, different everything.
Yep.
Then
different presentation.
And when you put your super cards together, it shouldn't be, oh, we're gonna put our world champion against your world champion. Yeah, if it makes sense, but like let's say
it actually doesn't because
it doesn't make sense. Like
because unfortunately the person that loses, it's like you take some of the steam off of them. What you do is that you can put world champion from SmackDown against a top competitor from Raw and vice versa and do things like that.
But you can also like let's say if two guys have history, whatever. Like, let's say if you're doing NXT, make believe they're in the SmackDown role and it's the main roster, whatever. I'd want to see Adam Cole, whether he's champion or not. I want to see him against an AJ Styles or something like that because they have, they both were in Bullet Club, like they have some similarities.
Yeah, but that history is for the most learned of fans. The people.
Everyone who watches WWE right now is a hardcore fan. I'm sorry. 1.5 million people. That's almost the same amount that have the network. No casual fans have the network. Not one. Sorry.
I can't argue that point. I can't argue that.
Even if only 80% of the audience or 70% of the audience get why you put them together, it's still interesting to someone as opposed to
that's more than enough. 70% is more than enough.
Yeah. So instead of putting matches together that are interesting to no one, like, you get what I'm saying? Or if you have guys that used to have beef that, they never got to finish, or guys that are similar, like,
things that you can revisit.
Like, if it lines up nicely, then you put them together. Not because, our U.S. champion versus our intercontinental champion, two guys that we've been trying to reestablish who were over at one point. Lashley is probably doing better work now than he's ever done because he was only over for 1 week and then they ruined him right away.
It's weird to me because I think that in this particular setting, and this is just in general, this is a WWE issue in general. They need to do a better job of booking their baby faces so that we can care. Because it almost seems like whenever their performers need to have character development, it's always done as a heel. And I don't think that that's a good idea because then you basically bury them as baby faces. And you need to have baby faces. I'm sorry, you need to have people to cheer for. If you don't, you can't have heels, being mad and fighting against each other. I'm sorry, it's just, you can get away with it every now and again, but you can't do this as a regular, any kind of regular way of booking. It's just not good.
All right, so we also have the tag teams, Street Profits and New Day. Besides the fact that they shouldn't be facing each other, but at least they have similarities. You can compare these teams. You can go, okay, these are the New Day is more of an entertaining team. They like to have a good time. Their baby faces, Street Profits are exactly
same thing.
Exact same thing, but the young version, right? They're
younger, yeah.
Younger. They're the I guess the new kid, the new kid on the block.
Listen.
To me, this is a good. I think it'd be a good match. A little passing of the torch, you could say. It makes sense to me. Out of all the matches, this match makes the most sense.
It's weird to me because I like both. Again, it's the same thing as the Lashley and the Lashley Sami Zayn match. I like both teams for two very different reasons. The thing is with this match is that it would be one thing if they were both babyface teams, but they had some kind of a contrasting style. Like let's just say that one of these teams were a little more ground and pound against the high flyers, then it could make sense that both of them could be baby faces, but it's like literally both teams they're carbon copies of one another.
I don't think they're carbon copies. I think Xavier works.
If with Angelo Dawkins, right? Dawkins is 6'5" and about 260 pounds, and he tries to do similar offense to what Montez Ford does. He won't be able to do it because Montez Ford is so graceful and so athletic.
But I don't know if you've noticed, Montez only has two high-flying moves. He does the frog splash and he does the dive to the outside, the toe.
Well, the thing is, Montez is offensive, is more geared to the high-flying stuff. Versus,
I think these guys have a very simple style. They do punch, kick, punch. It's like no slams. Dawkins does some slams, some wrestling throws.
Well, yeah, because Dawkins, look at him.
Well,
it would be as if Big E, like let's say if you're not talking about Woods and Kofi and you're talking about either one of them with Big E against the Street Profits, it's the exact same. They're literally carbon copies. With the exception of Angelo Dawkins, because he's clearly the largest guy in the ring and he's going to work differently, and he should. When he's in the ring, he should try to outmuscle Kofi and Woods because he can do it. But a part of it with this match is that it does seem like an interesting match, and I'm sure it'll be fun to watch. But at the same time, it's almost like I wish that I can get some kind of a contrast, and there just isn't enough between these two teams. There just isn't.
Well, if I am the story I'm telling is whether it depends what route you want to go, but the story has to be a passing of the torch. Almost, it could be the "you're not ready yet" story. It could be the New Day teaching the young guys a lesson. Y'all gonna be as good as us one day,
but it won't be today. But not today.
That's a good story to kind of start this because maybe in 2 years they are in the same brand. Maybe one of them does go heel, and maybe we do get. These are two teams that are going to be featured heavily for probably the rest of their lives, as long as they don't break anybody up. So, whatever. I think that's the route they should go. Passing of the torch, like chapter 1. That's kind of what I want to see.
That seems feasible, quite frankly.
All right, then you have this is probably going to be the worst match on the show. This is not because it's a bunch of females, but it's they have
no, go ahead.
They have some workers, some questionable workers. Although I hope, and I'm talking about this is the SmackDown versus Raw the elimination match, right?
The women's
elimination match. So it's Lacey, Lana, Nia, Peyton, and Shayna against Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott. Did they announce the other two yet?
Not yet.
Okay, good. All right.
So you have Bianca Belair and the Riott Squad against.
You have Shayna Baszler, Peyton Royce, Nia Jax, Lana, and Lacey Evans.
Oh my God.
And then, didn't they injured? 2 people got injured, right?
So
in storyline,
the original 2 partners were on the Raw side were Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke.
And they both got taken out.
Mandy Rose got hurt for real last week, Nia Jax hurt another girl last week.
Let me say, I've definitely been burying Nia because she's hurt so many people. It's hard for me to blame Nia on this one. Every time I watch it back, I'm like, I think she just fell wrong. I don't know.
Well,
I don't see.
Okay, but here's the thing though. I'm not gonna completely
if it smells like a duck.
Kind of, but here's the thing. When you're Nia Jax and you're 6'2" and 250 pounds, you are clearly twice the size of every girl on the roster. There's no one on the roster that even comes remotely close to challenging you in a true physical sense. So for Nia Jax, and I'm sure that she's done this, you work in the WWE and you have so many people that you can go to who are great resources, big man wrestlers who can give you advice on how to work with people who are smaller than them. Mark Henry, Big Show.
I don't think those guys have ever hurt anyone.
But
that's crazy.
To think a guy like Mark Henry could probably lift a small house if he really wanted to.
He's never hurt anyone.
And I've never heard of Mark Henry hurting anybody in the ring.
Big Show, the legit giant.
Big Show, the dude is 7 feet tall.
At one point was 5-something. At one point, when remember when he was?
I mean, yeah, he's about 350 now, and God bless him, he looks fantastic.
And as lean as he's ever been since he was probably in his 20s.
And I'll tell you what, for him, for Paul White, the Big Show, God bless you, because what he did is that he's adding years onto his life by doing this. So God bless him for getting healthy and really, really taking that seriously. But back to Nia Jax, it's a matter of you have to learn. Sometimes what she does is that she can try to be aggressive, and I'm like, you can be aggressive, but you have to learn how to be aggressive and be soft at the same time, because these girls are not 200-pound girls who can take those bumps. Mandy Rose probably goes about 5'5" and maybe $140, and I'm giving her $140 because she's muscular, but nothing more than that.
Look,
these girls can't take this.
Well, there's plenty
she has to learn.
There's plenty of There's plenty of petite girls that take huge bumps and never get hurt. This is a Nia issue. She's probably probably giving them a little too much. She's putting a little too much into her offense. She needs. I don't know. She needs, like you said, she needs to go to Mark Henry. She needs to go to Big Show and find out, either change up the offense or talk to somebody. How do I lighten up?
Talk to the Undertaker.
Yeah, Taker never.
Golly, there's so. I mean, and these are just the first three. Braun Strowman is another one. Like there's so many people who work in the WWE who are huge, physically huge men who can be able, if nothing else, is to give her pointers. And yes, it's different because even with these big guys, if you have Braun Strowman working with guys the size of Leon Ruff every week, then I'm sure he's going to hurt them. If he's working with a guy that's 220 pounds, the likelihood of Braun hurting them if he's doing things correctly is very minimal. But Nia Jax is working with really petite women, and yes, she's probably giving them too much. And unfortunately, she hurt Mandy Rose where the arm went out. Even if it was half and half, but it's still like you still have to understand is like.
It's happening way too much with her. It's almost every woman that's been injured has been at her hands. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a very incriminating resume to have, to know that you have one of the workers on your roster that is, and believe me, I don't think it's intentional by any stretch, but the fact that it's happening so often and the only common thread in all of this is that Nia Jax is involved, one way or the other. So
yeah,
it's very incriminating, and unfortunately for WWE, I don't know what it's going to take for them to put their foot down and tell Nia, it's either you need to work differently or we're going to have to send you elsewhere.
Yeah, but either way, I don't expect this match to be very good, but that doesn't mean that you can't accomplish like something that you can get something out of this match. Look, you have Bianca Belair. This should be a coming out party for her. She should be the star of this match.
If Bianca Belair does not win this match, because think about it, right? If you're going the SmackDown team's going to win this match because the Raw team's going to implode on itself.
Yes, right? You have that storyline in place. Shayna and Nia don't even like each other.
So what I'm saying is that the Raw team is going to implode within itself. And realistically, the people who should win this match, it should be Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott. And this is the reason why I'm adding Ruby Riott into this. Because of the fact that you're trying to establish the Riott Squad as a team, so you want one of those girls to go over. I think that Ruby Riott has a little more steam to her than Liv Morgan. So that's the only reason why I would add her in. But if Bianca Belair doesn't get her hand raised at the end of this has been a wasted match.
Yeah, Bianca Belair needs to show everything she can do. I want to see a 450. I want to see her press 3 girls. I want to see everything this girl got.
This is going to be the Roman Reigns spot.
Yes. She needs to shine. Another thing, you've put Lana through 700 tables in the last 2 months.
That's God. Here's the problem, and I'm sorry to cut you off. Here's the problem with that. So the fact that they've done this 9-10 weeks in a row, it first of all, it's not telling me how tough Lana is. It's telling me how fake wrestling is. Lana is what, 5'4" and 120 pounds, and she's getting thrown in tables every week, and yet she still comes back every week fresh as a daisy, selling nothing. Like, oh my God. What you're doing is that you're basically making Nia Jax look like a cream puff, that she's, putting this woman through tables as she comes back every week and trying to be their best friend. It's so stupid.
So let's just go with wrestlers are superheroes. Let's look at it from a little kid's perspective.
Oh my God.
I know you can't, but let's just
all right.
come with me on this ride.
I'll humor you.
Let's assume Lana's a superhero. It takes her 7 days to recover. Every 7 days, she's back to normal. Okay, that's fine. But the fact is, she's been put through this table 8-9 times. Now, normally in wrestling, if there's a big bully who's taking someone who's half their size and hitting them with a huge move, not even, even when there's no match, it doesn't even call for it. They're on the same team. She'll put it through the table, put it through the table, put it through the table. Lana is the baby face in this story. She needs something. Or if not, fire her. What are we doing? This is not good storytelling if she does not get some sort of receipt.
Simple. She's gonna cost Nia Jax the match.
Cost Nia Jax the match. She needs to slap her, at least stand up to her, not get put through. Nia tries to put it through the table. She slips out, slaps her, gets out of town. Something needs to happen. This is the perfect place to do it. Please do it, or just stop. Fire Lana. Let her go hang out with Miro on Twitch. Because there are another ones that have huge followings.
I will say this. As much as I think that Miro has been booked, he just looks just the shits in AEW. I would be okay if I was to see CJ Perry no longer in the WWE as Lana and show up in AEW and be his manager and his wife and his manager. If that means that you separate him from Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford and you present Miro as a main event talent as he should clearly and easily be in AEW, I would be totally on board with that. Because as Lana in the WWE, she's not adding anything spectacular at this moment. If the story takes it that place, then I'm all on board to see what happens. But if she was to be let go and end up in AEW to straighten out whatever nonsense booking wise they're doing with Miro, I'm all for it. So that's just an aside.
So yeah, they need to take care of some business. Even if the match is the shits, they have to take care of some business.
I think that this match does have potential because in putting in Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce, again, all due respect, I like Lacey Evans a lot. I'm a big fan of Lacey Evans. And I think that Lacey Evans should be booked a hell of a lot better than what she is. Peyton Royce, I'm not convinced of her yet. I think that many people in WWE see something in Peyton Royce that I just don't. There's just something, like, I look at her and I'm like, okay, yeah, she's pretty and she's athletic, but there's just something that's just like somewhere between point A and B. I don't get with her. So putting them as a team is like, okay, this makes no sense. If you wanted to put Peyton Royce in a team, you might as well kept her with the Iconics and keep her with Billie Kay. It would make more sense. If you're going to split up the Iconics, you didn't need to do this whole, oh, we're going to break them up, because neither one of them at the moment, neither one of them is able to stand on their own.
Let me tell you something about the Iconics. I get it. They're a comedy act, but there was something special. When I would see them and they do their pose or they do the thing, when they come on their entrance, there's something there.
Yeah,
there's something there. Even if you don't want to make them a main event talent, whatever it is, when you have something cool, it's okay. I just think about back in the day, everyone had a role and that was fine. It's like, it's okay. You don't need to be the best act on the card, but if you have a role, and they could have filled a nice little role as an entertaining tag team that, you know, if you want to put the belt on them, you could every now and then. But being entertaining, being silly, being funny, whatever, they are good at it. So and now you're putting random tag teams that aren't good together.
I will say this. I agree with your position here. The one thing that hindered the Iconics as a team, forget about the fact that they're a comedy team. The problem is that WWE doesn't have an established they don't have an established women's tag team division, even though they have more than enough talent to make it work. The issue becomes is that if you have a team like the Iconics, that they're a package, you know, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, and you have them together, but you don't have anybody for them to work with. You don't have a division. You're not willing to bring in, you know, even if it's, you know, outside independent talent, that you can have them and just, you know, work squash matches to where they can win. And then when it comes time, hey, you know what, let's do more with them. And even if you want to split them up, you can split them up in a way where they're still a team, even though they're wrestling as individual talents, because you know that each one's going to have the other's back until, you know, if you want to tell the story of the Iconics are breaking up because there's an issue between the two of them. But just splitting them up the way they did and then doing what they're doing now has done no favors for either one. It took a really good unit and now made them into two mediocre individual acts.
Yeah, they literally, you don't need them.
So it's no good. Anymore. I think for me, I would have actually been happy with the Raw team if it would have been Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Lana, and the Iconics, because now you have Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax who want to be the badasses. You have Lana who basically fluked her way in, and then you have the Iconics who are the comedy team. We're kind of like, we're coming after the titles, but we're on the same team for the sake of, right? Mm-hmm. That would have been a funny match, even though for me, it's like, as a whole, I wouldn't look at the team as like, whatever. Not the
at
greatest.
Least there's more to bite on too.
But there's a little more to bite on. The thing is with Lacey Evans is I think Lacey Evans should be a babyface. I think that she should be booked a little more seriously to kind of be like more of a wholesome All-American girl, because the fact that she is true military, she's all the, like, her social media makes her look like a real life superhero, and yet when you see her on TV, it's just like she's playing a character. Like, these two things don't go together. Make her like this wholesome All-American girl, almost like your female John Cena minus the Super Cena deal, you know, because you can get behind that. And I think they're doing the wrong. I mean, obviously, I would not want to have Lacey Evans in that match, because my fear is that unless she's going to be the last person to get beat to give Bianca Belair like a hell of a match, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Hopefully they do that the last person that gets beat on the Raw team is Lacey Evans, because I don't want it to be Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lana, or Peyton Royce, because I don't think that either one of them, you know, should be in that spot, quite frankly.
All right, the men's elimination match: AJ Styles, Braun Strowman, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, or just Riddle, and Sheamus.
That's a good team.
It's a very good team.
That's a very good team.
SmackDown, you have Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, King Corbin, and Seth Rollins. Who do you think? Did they announce like how they're gonna figure out that fifth person?
I think they're gonna have some kind of match on SmackDown this week. And
all right, who would you give that to? I'd give it to Buddy Murphy.
That the fifth slot on the team.
Yeah.
The weird thing is for me is that I think the one person, even though I don't know if this, I would probably want to go with Dominic Mysterio. Just because I want him to be in a high profile match, even though I know he's going to get beat at some point in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Have him beat somebody on the Raw side. I think that, believe it or not, it sounds weird because it almost sounds weird for me to say this, but the one person I'd want to see Dominic beat is AJ Styles. In like a fluke style, like, you know, you get a quick one on him, and then, you know, AJ beats the piss out of him, and then the next guy, you know, just grabs a hold of him and has their way. But I'd like to see Dominic in this match. I think that this is something for him that I want to see him in a situation where he has to be, you know, that he could be featured, even though I know he's certainly not going to win, but, you know, a good feature spot for him. So I would probably go with Dominic.
Who gets the? I don't think anyone. Well, I guess Keith Lee or Matt Riddle. I guess Keith Lee is probably going to get the all the shine in this match from the people. No one really here needs it. You've established Jay Uso as more of a second, as a sidekick. Kevin Owens doesn't really need it. Seth doesn't need it. Corbin doesn't need it. Sheamus doesn't need it. Strowman doesn't need it. Styles doesn't need it. So we have that leaves Riddle, Keith Lee, and whoever this maybe Dominic, maybe Murphy. If Murphy's in there, I think he should have a nice showing.
I see. The thing is for me is that at the end, if the Raw team wins, it's going to be Matt Riddle and Keith Lee that are going to go over. If it's the SmackDown team, it's going to be Jey Uso and no one else. Because the thing is with Jey Uso is that even though he's been established as a heel now, being in the Roman Reigns camp, I don't think he's had a big win. Like a big win. And I think that this would be it. So that's the reason why I'm a little, you know, I'm kind of leaning. If, like I said, if the SmackDown team wins, it's going to be Jey Uso. And if it's the Raw team, it'll be Matt Riddle and Keith Lee. Those two guys going over. But for some reason, I generally know that in the Survivor Series, they usually don't have one brand win both 10, you know, in both Survivor matches. But I got a feeling the SmackDown team is going to win this one too. And it's going to be Jey Uso that goes over in the end.
Okay, so we have Asuka against Sasha, which we've seen before many times.
But it's still a match I'd want to see.
It's a good match. It's probably going to steal the match.
It's probably the second best match of the show.
I think they're going to steal the show. I think they're going to have a better match than Roman and Drew. Like, maybe not the storytelling,
but the actual execution of the match.
But these girls, Sasha's on fire. Asuka's great. Well, I think Drew and Roman. Actually, let me take. No, I think Drew and Roman can do it.
But think about this, right? These two women had this match at SummerSlam in August, and Sasha Banks was the heel. Now they're both baby faces. So it's this whole heel versus heel, babyface versus babyface. And listen, they're both fantastic. They're both fantastic talents. They're both fantastic talents, and they're going to have I think it's going to be a very, very good match. Very good. If not,
just go babyface. Let's tear the house down. I think that's what they're gonna do.
But what ends up happening is that you got to ask the question of who goes over. I think that Asuka's gonna go over on this one, but it's gonna be because of Bayley.
That's a good way to do it.
The thing that kind of gets me in all of this is that Asuka needs to have a big win, because right now Asuka's kind of going a little flat, and it's mostly because it's just on the Raw side. It just doesn't seem like there's
no one's hot, not a damn soul.
And that's a problem, because for somebody like Asuka, and the only person that comes up in my mind right now is, where is Mickie James? Where's Mickie James? I haven't seen her on Raw and
where's Mickie James, and what brand is Naomi on?
Naomi's on the SmackDown brand, I believe.
So the girls that I think you can heat up quick. Bianca, I think you can shoot her.
Oh, no, immediately. Survivor Series is going to do that for her.
Yes, if they do it right, she's instantly, you can use her. You can get her ready for the main event.
Absolutely.
I think Naomi, if you do something good with her, you can get her ready for the main event. She's a former champ. She's ice cold right now, but
I'm surprised Naomi's not in this match. In the women's Survivor match. I'm surprised she's not in it.
They still have to name 2 people, right? So maybe she will get a spot.
And if they name Mickie James to that team too, let's just say Mickie James is
actually another one. Is she on SmackDown too?
Well, technically, Mickie James is a free agent.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So what I'm saying is, if you bring Naomi and Mickie James to that SmackDown team, there's no way the Raw team wins. There's no way.
Yeah. So
sorry, ladies.
Lacey, I'm not gonna take her serious. Lana.
I like I said, I like Lacey Evans a lot, and I think that they can do a lot more with her and get her over as a.
Yeah, they got to do the work.
She's a really good heel, but I think that she's the kind of persona that they need to really make her a babyface, because she'll be a fantastic babyface. Because you can't have everybody be heels. You need to have somebody to cheer for and somebody who you can get behind. And WWE, in all honesty, for the first year or so of her run in the main roster, they did a pretty good job with her. Yeah, they had some hiccups, but they did a relatively good job with her. It's just recently I don't know what's going on recently. It's just been really bad.
They need to line up, and they need to get some heels ready for Asuka, because this is insane. It's like
they got, the really sick thing about it is that the only 2 heels that they have that can challenge Asuka are the women's tag team champions.
Yeah. Which I'm sure there's a purpose for that. I'm sure they are going to be chasing Asuka together.
Well, but here's the thing. Ultimately, this is where you got to split them up. You got to take the belts off of them, and you don't have a team ready to do it. Hence, why'd you break up the Iconics?
Yes, Iconics could have did it. Well, now they have Ruby and Liv, who they broke up and had to get back together.
And that's great, because in all honesty, they actually make a good team. I think Ruby Riott would be an okay single, but I think that the 2 of them as a team actually works really well.
Yeah, they both can be okay singles, but you don't have any tag teams, and they're not hot enough. Like, it's like, what are we?
And they're a good unit. I think that they're a good unit. They should be a tag team, and get over as a team, because I think that they look good as a team. They work well as a team, and I think that each one of them helps elevate the other. So what more can you ask for?
So that's pretty much Survivor Series. We already spoke about McIntyre and Roman.
Oh, whoa, one last thing, brother. See,
what's your final thoughts on McIntyre?
Oh, you're missing the big thing here. You're missing about the Undertaker, the final farewell.
Wait, final farewell what? I didn't hear anything.
The final farewell for the Undertaker. Apparently,
this is anniversary, right?
The Survivor Series is on November 22nd, which is the 30-year anniversary of his debut in the WWE. I don't think that the Undertaker is going to be wrestling here. No. I think that this might actually be a pseudo kayfabe, breaking kayfabe moment, where people are going to come and they're going to show their appreciation for the Undertaker at the Survivor Series, where you probably for the first time on a WWE quote unquote wrestling show, you might see the Undertaker break character, and you might see Mark Calloway there and not the Undertaker. I'm actually really looking forward to this and seeing what they do, because WWE have really been doing a great job with all the all the material they've been putting on the network of with the Undertaker, the documentary on Paul Bearer and all that was really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like, because it's weird, because I've been saying for a long time that it's time for the Undertaker. It's time. And the thing is that now that I think it's going to happen, I'm actually really sad.
Well, don't be too sad, because this was really going to happen.
Go ahead. Tell me what's really going to happen, brother.
No, I don't know. I think it'd be a nice, I guess he was happy with the Boneyard match, but the problem is when you execute a good Boneyard match, you can execute it again. So
I want one more match with him, and I so want him to fight Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. I so want to see that.
Yes.
I so want to see that, but There's no way to pull that off unless it's a cinematic thing. And
I don't care how they do it. He needs to pass that damn torch. He needs to go out on his back, you know, sort of.
He needs to go down on his shield, yeah.
Yeah, he needs to go out, and Bray needs to take some of that magic home with him. And Bray's the perfect person to do it. It makes all the sense in the world. Like, it makes sense if he wants to do one more. If he doesn't want to do one more, it's fine. But if he only had one more, he has to. It's like, Bray, here, baby, you earned it.
There would only be one other match that I'd want to see the Undertaker in, and that's the one all the fans want to see, him wrestling against Sting.
Which can also be done cinematic. It can also be done Boneyard style. It can be done. It can absolutely be done.
You know what? I don't disagree that it can be done. I just don't know whether or not I'd want to see it that way.
I mean,
Bray Wyatt, yes.
We don't want
Wyatt, yes, but not Sting. There's just something.
You know, if I was WWE and I could do whatever I wanted, right? And I go, okay,
just put a CGI match.
What's a good little love? Well, obviously, if in a perfect world, I'd want to see a match in the ring, but it's probably not going to be any good. So
yeah, you're right. And who goes over? That's the thing. Who goes over?
What, with Sting and Taker?
I mean, you figured that the Undertaker
would go over.
Taker would go
Unless
over.
Sting says, I can work 3 more matches, and Taker goes, I can work 1 more, and then you can have Sting put somebody over in the future. But I think Sting has 1 match in him, and Taker has 1 match in him. Then Taker goes over, but you can tell, even if it's cinematic, when you see Sting's face and you get the right camera with that face paint, and you can do some CGI, cover up the bald spot, and he can look like young Sting, the one that we all loved.
You're talking about WCW like 2000 Sting?
2000, like with the hair like long.
Yeah.
Curly.
Like the Crow character, hardcore Crow.
With the paint like right here instead of right here.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh my god. I CGI the fuck out of that face paint. No, but even if you can't do that, it'd be nice for Sting to just be lurking in a Bray Wyatt. You got Bray vs. Taker and Sting watching from somewhere. Just show him watching, like, whatever you want to do. Give a little wink to the world who wanted them in the same. They wanted them in the same room. That's all people ever wanted. Is like, yo, I just want to see these guys look at each other.
I'll tell you. I mean, it's weird because I know that this is something that, when I think of Undertaker versus Sting, this is a match that, could have happened many, many times. And unfortunately, just Sting didn't come to the WWE soon enough. And, with Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker, yes, this is a match that can happen. And I really, really want to see happen because, in all honesty, it's not for a guy like The Undertaker. He's one of the few guys that if he was to say, I want to go out on top, no one's going to say no. However, when you look at the Fiend persona, there isn't anybody in any go span the entire globe of professional wrestling. There is no other personality that the Fiend can defeat and be established more so than beating The Undertaker. And that's and I think the cinematic match is the only way to do it. It could be boneyard structure, and the Fiend goes over and literally buries him, and that's the end.
And that's the end, and that's beautiful. That's beautiful storytelling, and especially for the Fiend character who has been getting revenge on anybody who's ever done anything to Bray Wyatt. That's all in the character. It's already written. Talk about
it's already baked in. Yeah, you're right.
Talk about something that makes perfect sense. So yes, I'm hoping the Fiend comes out, attacks Taker at this thing. I do hope that we do get those heartfelt, real moments. Like if
it has really, to. Those things need to be part of.
I do hope that that's all to make it feel like it really is his last match, and then that he's had his last match, and then right there, surprise. You're gonna get You're gonna get one last ass whipping before you go, and you want to break the internet. That's how you do it, baby.
I think so. I think we've just booked the final farewell for the Undertaker.
You're welcome, Taker.
You're, Vince, you're welcome.
So you said you wanted to talk about Retribution a little bit?
Yeah, with Retribution. So I know that I've been very hard on Retribution, and quite honestly, rightfully so, because it's been awful on television. However, there are some promos that Retribution cut, even though they're all online. I saw these on Twitter, where each individual, so this is, Mia Yim, Dominic Dijakovic, Dio Madden, and Shane Thorne. They all cut 1-minute promos talking about why they joined Retribution. And the thing is that in the B-roll, they show them as themselves without the mask when they were either on NXT or in Dio Madden's case when he was commentating on Raw. And I think that was a really nice touch by the WWE in terms of being able to give a little backstory there, because pretty much, WWE's got to give up on trying to conceal these people's identities because everybody knows who they are. So you might as well tell us who they are without telling us who they are. I just wish they showed these on television, because in all honesty, I think that this might be kind of like the right way to tell these people's backstory and to give them some kind of context, because Mustafa Ali he's the only one that has been presented for better or for worse. He's been the only person that's been presented, quote unquote, properly within the WWE structure, to where we know who he is. He has a certain backstory, and we kind of know what it is. And he was a likable babyface, even though he was not over, but he was a likable babyface. So when he switched, we're like, okay, but he's done a good job. It seems like now they're looking to recruit Ricochet. In all honesty, just join them. Because in all honesty, I think it would help Ricochet.
You don't got nothing better to do, and hopefully they give him a cool mask too.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it was funny. I know that I saw. I think I commented on one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can just put a mask on him and call him Puma. Just like,
that'll work.
I mean, seriously, it's like, what the hell? It got to a point where I look at Ricochet and I'm like, they're not doing anything with him. So to have him join Retribution, I'm okay with that.
At least they're doing something, right?
Yeah. Give him something to chew on. Give him something interesting to do. So, but those promos were really good, and I hope for the people listening to this, search for it. Those they're 1 minute each. They're all pretty good in terms of giving them their backstory, and hopefully they show this on television so we can begin to care a little bit about Retribution, because man, it's been a rough go.
I also wanted to get into Johnny Gargano, who apparently is cursed. Yeah, and he lost his North American title to Leon Ruff.
Why? Just why?
NXT, for the most part, have done a really good job with their titles. This ain't it. This is not doing it for me. I'm sorry. It's all good, fun and games. I'm okay with funny characters. I'm okay with funny things happening. But to me, this is a bad comedy bit that's going on way too long. Johnny Gargano's cursed, or whatever the hell we're doing. Whatever story we're telling here that's supposed to be funny. I don't think the title needs to be involved with these jokes. But that's what they decided to do. You could have did something similar and have Johnny take it seriously and be presented a real challenger, even if it's an up and comer, and have the up and comer still win if the intention is to make him a star and shock the world, but it's somebody who you have every intention of pushing, and they have a lot of guys like that. They always have someone waiting in the wings who's look, man, this ain't it. This ain't it for me. This is very disappointing. This is the one thing NXT's done pretty much. I'd say they're batting. They're damn near perfect. With the way they book their titles in terms of who they put them on. They put them on their best talent usually. That North American title should be someone who's going to be a future champion, a future NXT champion. I don't see that with this guy, so I'm sure he's talented and all, but
oh God bless Leon Ruff. Listen, I've seen Leon Ruff in the Indies. This dude looks like he's 120 pounds, soaking wet with a brick in his crotch. I mean, let's just be for real. He damn near looks malnourished, and he's out there. This whole bit. Listen, I've seen this done. And I've watched enough wrestling in my life that I've seen this done in territorial wrestling where you have the heels show up on TV and just say, hey, you know what? I want to do, I want to give an exhibition. I'm going to put up my title against Joe Schmo. Knowing that 99 times out of 100, Joe Schmo doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of beating him. Mm-hmm. And then somehow the babyface who is the actual rival of the champion, causes said heel champion to lose. Joe Schmo wins the match, wins the title. Mm-hmm. It's not designed to get Joe Schmo over. What it's designed to do is to actually heat up the issue between heel that lost the title and the actual babyface rival. That's all it's meant to do.
Yeah, that's fine and all.
This is awful. One, when Johnny Gargano beat Damian Priest 3 weeks ago for the NXT title at Halloween Havoc.
He took his lunch.
I'll disagree there, but it was a 50-50 match. So by that definition, you're right. He took his lunch. Exactly. By that definition. But he puts up the title. He does all of these. It's just like, oh, Johnny loves wheels, but where there's a wheel, there's a way. All this garbage. He flips the wheel. Did I like the fact that the wheel went forward, then backwards, then forward again, and then landed on Leon Ruff? Yes, I thought that was funny.
That's funny.
That was funny. But here's the thing. When Leon Ruff comes out and you see him, and listen, Johnny Gargano is he's no giant by any stretch. Johnny Gargano should have beat the piss out of this guy, stretched him. Leon Ruff gets zero offense in this match until Damian Priest shows up and he just stands there. And then Johnny Gargano gets distracted momentarily, turns around. Leon Ruff rolls him up. 1, 2, 3. Inside cradle, because it's just something that he can hold him down for 3 seconds. Get a quick one. Done. Leon Ruff wins the title without getting a speck of offense in. You don't do the whole bit with the title and the belt falls off and all that, because now you're making the North American Championship a joke. You're making the title, because understand, Leon Ruff is being used as a comedy character in this instance. The problem is that a guy like Leon Ruff in no real circumstance should ever be viewed as a serious contender to any title when you look at him visually, and especially knowing that he's probably only been featured on NXT 2 or 3 times, if that. And I think I'm being very generous when I say that. So this whole thing, unless Gargano is going to demand a rematch and beat the holy piss out of Leon Ruff, stretch him, and make that by the time the match is over, Leon Ruff is 6'2". There's no point in this. Have him stretch him out, beat the piss out of him, take the title back, and force Damian Priest to come out and run him off so that we can get a rematch and we can move on from Leon Ruff. This was bad.
Yeah,
this was bad in every stretch of the imagination. There's nothing good about this, and it's not like, again, it's not Leon Ruff's fault. This is how he's being booked. It's just a matter that you're making Gargano look like a joker because of the fact that this whole curse thing is stupid. Gargano set this match up so that he can, quote unquote, break the curse. He still loses. What's the point? do we care? No, we're laughing. I didn't laugh because I thought it was funny. I was just laughing like, oh my God, so I didn't cry. It was just so bad. I'm sorry, Leon Ruff. God bless you, brother. But the next time that I see you on NXT TV, you better be losing the title back to Johnny Gargano like that.
Look, even if it's to, you know, to heat up this storyline or this rivalry, whatever, with Gargano that I don't even want to see anymore. But okay, we're gonna keep this going. Damian Priest, Gargano. All right, let's keep it going. That's fine. Whatever. When you look at it, right, you got the North American title. You got Adam Cole, Ricochet, Gargano, Dream, Strong, Lee, Priest, Gargano.
Leon Ruff.
One
thing is not like the others.
Yeah. The weakest person here is probably Strong, but I can still see Strong as a future NXT champion under the right circumstances, and at least within the hottest faction.
I will watch Roderick Strong all day long.
Yes.
Before watching Leon Ruff. I'm sorry.
Look, if you have this track record, I don't think it's worth it. For this storyline, it's not worth messing this up. It just isn't.
I mean, think about it. When Randy Macho Man Savage was the WWF champion, did he lose the belt to Barry Horowitz to heat up the rivalry with Hulk Hogan? No, it would have been stupid. Yeah, this is no different. This is embarrassing. I mean, that's really the word for this. It's embarrassing.
At least give it to someone who you have at least someone who you know can get over, or someone who has a chance to be a big star.
I know who they could have put.
Let's see if you think who I'm thinking. Let's see.
Austin Theory.
Oh, that's a good one.
Austin Theory. Put the belt on him. Have him come out and be like, you know what, Johnny, you got me the last time. Let's try it now. Who was your pick? Let's see if
my pick is Drake Maverick.
Oh God. No.
Yes, no. Drake Maverick has gotten over. He can get over.
Listen.
People will care if Drake Maverick, obviously not with the story he has got going now, but if
correct. That's the problem. If you would have been talking 6 months ago, maybe you'd have something.
No, but if they lined it up, if they planned it out correctly, and you
I mean, listen, if I had to take Drake Maverick or Leon Ruff, I'm taking Drake.
Drake Maverick can get over. Drake Maverick, I've seen Drake Maverick get over like 4 times already. He gets almost everything he does gets over. That guy is good.
I love Spud. Don't get me wrong.
And look, he's gonna get this guy over too. Watch. Give him another 2 or 3 months. They're gonna get over.
Well, I mean, listen, he and Killian Dane are gonna get over as a team just because of the dearth of talent in the tag team division. Dearth means the shortage of good tag teams. So yeah, they're gonna get over. It's silly and it's stupid, but they're gonna get over. I agree. But take a look at the NXT tag team division. That's not exactly anything to write home about.
Well, there's definitely something they need to work on for sure. All right, let's just we're in the home stretch now.
Yeah, buddy. Let's go.
Even though this happened a couple of weeks ago, we do need to talk about Full Gear. We didn't get to talk about it.
Oh my God, yes. That's goodness gracious.
So, all right, I'll just run down the card, and we'll just give some quick thoughts. So you had Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. I thought, and on a technical level, I thought it was an awesome match, but it was definitely missing. Like, I think this should have been the place to pay off. If someone's turning heel or this was the place to do it. They didn't do it. And that was a distraction for me. So it took away from the match because you've teased something and it didn't happen. And if it's not going to happen at the pay-per-view, when is it going to happen? Like, what's taking so long? I don't know. This was the perfect place to do it. I don't know what plans they have, of course. I don't know. So I can't look into the future. But I know on that night, I wanted to see Kenny Omega do something terrible to Paige. I wanted him to just. That's it.
I want to see some terrible things happening here.
I wanted to see something really, really naughty. I wanted him to give a wet willy, like, something dastardly. And when it never came, I was let down. So if I'm talking just a match for the sake of a match, then it was a fun match. It did a lot of cool stuff. Everything looked, pretty, but I was waiting for that story to be told, and it never came. So that messed me up.
Well, I'll tell you, this match was good, not great, but it was a good match. I was surprised that this match came on first.
Me too.
Only because to me, when I look at this match, I think that these guys, in general, this is a lot with AEW, and I just think that it's a philosophy that a lot of the younger talents have now, that, and I think the fans as well think this way, is that they don't look at each match as each match complementing each other to the full payoff at the end with the main event. It almost seems like each match is its own beginning, middle, and end. It's its own little event. The next match comes on, it's its own little event. The next match, and so on and so forth, to where everybody does everything, and by the time you get to the end, it almost seems like the main event is just like you've already seen everything throughout the show. It almost seems like by the time you get to the end, it means less when you get to the end of the show, because all the wrestlers have done every single spot, every single thing you can think of. It has been done. At some point in the show, you already saw it. So by the time you get to the end, this was like I said, I agree with you. Technically, good match. Both guys worked very hard. They told their stories. I agree with you that the payoff in the end was horrible. A couple reasons. One, Kenny Omega won the match, which is fine. He beat Hangman clean with his finish. He didn't cheat to get there. He didn't turn heel in the process. He just got up and walked away. And then Hangman's looking like, oh, what are you going to tell the story about? Is it that he can't kick out of the one-winged angel? Is it a matter of, for Adam Page to finally get past Kenny Omega, he's going to have to stop drinking and take wrestling more seriously?
But
what I'm saying is that I was really disappointed in this match, because there's certain matches where AEW has a tendency that they want to put crumbs. I'm like, at some point you got to put the stake in to say, okay, this is a stake moment in this story, so we can say this is a pivotal point. At this point in this match on this night, a big thing happened, and that big thing didn't happen. It was just another match, and that was bad. One thing to point out, because there's a lot, there's a lot that I can point out in this match, and this is just a very general thing, and it's about the AEW commentary, particularly with Excalibur, because Excalibur, unfortunately, he thinks he's really intelligent by calling back things when he's telling about, oh, these guys wrestled for the first time 2.5 years ago for some little known Japanese promotion. I'm like, if it's not New Japan or All Japan Pro Wrestling, nobody in the United States knows who these people are. This promotion is. Stop calling that back. The whole story is keep it within the walls of AEW, because that's where the mass audience knows. All the people that are watching this show or following AEW, they're following this story. You can call all those things back and the audience will know exactly what you're talking about. Don't call back stuff that happened 2 or 3 years ago in some little known promotion in Japan that I'm sure that unless you're the most learned AEW fan, you have no idea. I got so annoyed with Excalibur throughout the point of this show, him calling back all these different things. And I was like, dude, what the? Stop it. Just stop it. It's too much. You actually don't sound intelligent. You actually sound kind of dumb by doing that. Because what you're doing is that you're creating a thread and trying to take people back, and no one's gonna go look at these matches from, some little known Japanese promotion. If it's not New Japan or All Japan, nobody knows who the hell it is in the United States of America. Good, like I said, good match, not great, disappointed by the finish. Yeah.
All right, we had Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin. I thought this was a really good match. I thought it tied in with all their other matches. This was their fourth match against each other. I think it was the right finish. Literally, this is a story that started. I don't even remember when was the first match.
I thought it was the very first Fyter Fest show that they did back in.
I think you're right.
2019 or something. I don't know.
I think you're right, but it all lined up.
That was the first draw. That was the first no contest.
Yes, they had the draw. Then Cody had a definitive win. Then Cody had a fluke, not a fluke, but a sneaky kind of.
And outsmarted him. Him win.
Yeah, kind of outsmarted him. And all those elements were in this match. They used all of that stuff. I love when that happens. I love when they do something, even if you don't remember it, when they do it or when they tease it or when they show you in the past this happened, and then you see it in the match, oh, it's gonna happen again. Oh no, I learned. Darby learned from the last time they did it. I corrected, whatever it was that I fell for. I'm not gonna fall for it again. Callbacks, things like that, along with interesting reversals and a good finish. That's usually how you get a great match. To me, this was a really, really well done.
I listen. I agree. I think this was the best match on the show. This is the best match on the show by far. Cody Rhodes against Darby Allin. This was the one thing about this match that the match in and of itself was very good. I would have probably done without Cody Rhodes doing the hammerlock body slam to Darby Allin on the stage. I think that was a bit much. I would have done without that. The one thing that I wish would have happened was, if Darby's going to win this match, beat him with his finish. You hit him with the coffin drop. Beat him with that. You went through an entire sequence in the match when Darby Allin finally made his comeback, and he started getting Cody down, and he hits him with the coffin drop. That's the finish. The fact that they went through all these reversals and all the things that they did, and then Darby catches a quick one. It is not as big of a win as it should have been. It's okay for Cody to get cocky in the match when he could have won earlier, make a mistake and give Darby enough rope that he can make a comeback, beat Cody down, hit him with his finish, 1, 2, 3. It's more emphatic. I think that it makes it look like Darby got lucky instead of Darby winning and beating Cody. And I'm not okay with that. It kind of goes back to the same thing with the Young Bucks and Private Party, a year or so ago, where get beat by the finish, you make a star. If you get beat in a fluke, people remember it only because they remember it as a match that could have been, not what could have been. The match was great. Told a fantastic story. Darby wins, which is the right thing to do, although I would have had him beat Cody with the coffin drop. The afterbirth was the drizzling shits. Just awful. When Cody goes and he gets down on the knee and presents the title, that's too much. Way too much. Let the referee give the belt to Darby, and you stand up and you pull him up. At that moment, one of two things can happen. You either shake his hand and walk away, or you beat the piss out of him and turn heel. I would have probably gone with the latter because I think that Cody has been acting as a pseudo heel for the last several months, and it would have been nice knowing that Kenny Omega didn't turn heel. Shit, maybe Cody would. But when he did the whole handing him on, down on one knee and presenting the belt, just way too much. Taz comes out, cuts this promo, calling them bitch asses and all this other stuff, and I'm like, could this not been done on Dynamite? Can't you just let Darby Allin have his moment and let it be? Leave Better Off alone. This is one thing AEW is just horrible at. They don't know how to leave Better Off alone. Taz comes out, cuts a promo. Starks and Cage come out, beat up Cody, beat up Darby Allin. In the beginning of the match, Cody Rhodes came out with like 25 people in the Nightmare family. Where were they? You mean that nobody could have came to help their man Cody? Even if they don't care about Darby Allin, nobody came to help Cody. Then the heels take Darby Allin and bring him all the way out to the staging area and, break him on top of one of the set pieces. That could have been it right there. No, what do we need to do? Let's pick him up. Let's beat him up some more. So he's already wrestled a 20-minute match, got his ass kicked by the heels, got thrown into one of the set pieces. Let's pick him up. Let's put him in his car and we'll break his arm. And then what do we have? We have Will Hobbs come out again with a chair. Will Hobbs is 6'2" and 250 pounds. He don't need a damn chair. He can just go in there and just slap some fists and beat somebody up. Good match. Horrible afterbirth. This is something that could have been done on Dynamite the next week. Let Darby Allin have his moment. The moment was ruined in the sense that he didn't beat Cody with his finish. He beat Cody, a quick one. Cody does way too much in surrendering the title to him and awarding him the title. And then the whole Team Taz thing and Will Hobbs was just way too much. Way too much.
All right. So then we had the tag team match, FTR versus Young Bucks. What I think was the best match of the night, and I don't think it was close. For me, I mean, I don't know what else you want. I really don't. This was a masterclass. This was a masterpiece, in my opinion, and one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. I don't know what else you can ask for. Like, me personally, it had storytelling, it had callbacks, they had great selling throughout the entire match. Selling that has been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks, all over, all over. Matt couldn't walk in his own house. He had to look.
And yet, Matt Jackson with his broken foot, barefoot, super kicked one of the FTR guys and pinned.
And that's actually realistic. That is 100% realistic. You do not watch. Have you, Lou? Come on, you have to tell me that you. I know you watch boxing. You can't tell me you don't watch boxing. Guys knock people out with broken hands all the time. A couple times a year, there's a guy knocking somebody out with a broken hand, with their own broken hand. If anything, that adds to the story for me. It's the story.
It adds to the story, okay, but
you're dying on that hill.
I kind of am because.
So would you rather he throw a super kick in the other way where he has to balance on his bad foot?
No, I would have preferred that it's not him throwing it. Let his brother do it.
I like it better, him throwing it. I like him sacrificing himself, his injury, his messed up foot, and risking shattering it and destroying it to get his last bit of offense in for the win. It's worth it. The titles mean that much.
Yeah, I mean, this match had a lot of good things in it. It had a lot of good things in it. This was not a bad match at all. This was
you don't have to tell me that. If you say that, then
no.
I'm just gonna stop the video.
No. This was a very
walk out.
No. This was a very good match. However, there are things about this match that could have been done differently. First off, they have in the beginning of the match, even before the match started, Tully Blanchard is banned from ringside, but yet he comes out with FTR. And he never shows up at any point in the match. If they're the heels, you figure that, okay, they show the manager, which they shouldn't have shown because they could have just said Tully Blanchard was banned from the building. AEW did a horrible job in explaining it. They're like, oh, because, he's interfered in all their matches. He's realistically interfered in like 2 of their matches. Yes, he interfered to help them win. Yes, but that shouldn't be more than enough. That's what the heel manager's there to do. What else is a heel manager supposed to do? Is to help his guys, cheat on behalf of his guys. So the fact that Tully never made a reappearance in this match so that the Young Bucks can foil him and get the win was a little like, okay, then why is Tully out there? You could have just easily explained he's been banned from the building.
I mean, but you don't have to ban somebody from the building just to have him not come out.
It's a wrestling logic thing. It's a wrestling logic thing.
If not,
it is. When
you ban the coach in a game and you kick the coach out of the game and you're like, bro, get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
you're not banned from the building. You go to the locker room and you wait in the locker room.
Yeah, but come on, man. You're using.
I'm using real life.
Yeah, you're using real life. You're using real life logic to something that doesn't apply. It doesn't apply here because
when it's convenient, real life doesn't apply.
No, because in professional wrestling, in pro wrestling, what do the heels do?
They cheat.
Thank you. So if the coach or the manager, in this case, Tully Blanchard, is barred from ringside, what do you do in the middle of the match? Or at some point in the match, towards the end, you come out and you try to help your guys, and the baby faces foil you. Because it's not that he's going to help FTR win the match, it's the Young Bucks are going to catch him and they're going to knock him down. So then now that card, FTR played that card and it didn't work. So, and then you go to the finish.
Tully coming out in the beginning, walking them to the ring, and then not coming back. It ruined the match.
No, it didn't ruin the match. I just thought that it was part of the match that was silly, and it could have been incorporated.
You even worrying about that is silly.
No.
When you get a damn masterpiece,
no,
and you're
this is not a masterpiece. This is a very good match.
You don't pay attention to what matters. They gave you a bunch of steak and potatoes all in the match. Here, take all this steak.
All right. So
take all this.
All right, so here we go. All right, so let's go here because this is
No, I don't even want to hear it. Tell me what you like.
Because I got
you like. Please tell me what you like.
I will say this about this match. The beginning of the match was actually kind of cool when it was like Lakers versus Celtics. I'm a big basketball fan, and I thought that was kind of funny that both teams were playing that. And I think to myself, like, all right, the Young Bucks, I can buy it because they're from California, so I could buy them being Lakers fans. I'm like, 2 guys from North Carolina being Boston Celtics. Not really, but they're not going to dress like the Charlotte Hornets. No, they're not going to dress like those guys.
Well, it's another story element. It's
I get it. I know.
The rivalry dynamic, the little picture.
The one thing about it, there was a couple of spots in this match that were a little silly. Like I know that there was one point where Matt Jackson, he did a moonsault where there was nobody. I know that the intent was to do it on Dax, but Dax was nowhere near ready to do anything. He wouldn't have been able. He wasn't there to either receive the blow or move out of the way. He literally was like standing in another part of the ring, nowhere near. He just did it, and then he started selling. Then Matt Jackson started selling his ankle. I was like, okay, if you're really hurt, why would you do that move when you know it's going to hurt you? Like the psychology is you do it when it's like, like it's like the last straw. You're trying to protect your leg throughout the match, but then when you know that the chips are down, like you're like, all right, Nick is hurt, this match, we're getting to deep into the fourth quarter. Then you can start doing the stuff, you know, like really taking the big chances, because you know it's all or nothing at that point. So that those are things I was like, okay, whatever have you. Obviously these guys were kind of hurting themselves for real, because I know Dax hurt his hand when he punched the post. Because I was like, holy crap! When he punched, I was like, oh shit! I hope he didn't break his hand, because that didn't look like he grazed it. It looked like he got it. You know, and he, you know, cut his hand up and everything. So that was, you know, I got a kick out of Excalibur calling it ringside triage. I thought that was, you know, I got a kick out of that. There was one spot where Dax almost lost, and this has nothing to do with like the storytelling of the match. I just noticed this, that, you know, Dax almost lost Matt Jackson on a superplex he was trying to do. He almost lost him, and I was like, thank God he didn't, because they would have both gotten hurt for real if he would have lost him on that. I was, again, one of the things that got me about this match is that with Matt Jackson, even though he's selling his leg, he does a lot of things that probably shouldn't be happening very much in the match. I know that there was a point where FTR was taking control of him and he's making his own comeback. That again, if the story that you're telling is that Matt Jackson is coming in already compromised, what has to happen is he shouldn't be making his own comeback. What he should be doing is, FTR is beating him up. He's able to dodge, dip, move, and FTR makes a mistake. He has to. He's fighting not to get the advantage on both of them. He's fighting to get to the corner. He's only fighting so that he can get away from those guys long enough to get to his brother. That's it. But when he's making his own comeback and he's knocking both of them down, he doesn't need to tag Nick at that point. He can just continue the match on his own because he's doing just fine. Little things like that. You know, towards the end of the match, I will say this. I like the fact that both teams were using other people's finishers. From, obviously, FTR was using all the stuff from the 80s, Hart Foundation, the Steiners.
I'm glad you brought it up on.
And you know, the Young Bucks were using, you know, they used the Hardy Boys. I know they mentioned the Dudleys, but I'm like, there's no need to mention the Dudleys because they didn't do anything Dudley-esque.
Well, they did a variation of the 3D.
Oh well,
right before the Senton Bomb, they did the 3D.
Okay, well, all right then.
It wasn't executed exactly the same. It was.
So that's the reason why I'm saying that I missed it.
It didn't have an Irish. It didn't have the Irish whip.
Okay,
well, the guy kind of walked up to him, and then they kind of just did it.
Now, the one thing about this is, once you know you start getting to, you know, you're starting to get to the end sequence. At this point, you're getting to the end sequence of the match. The one thing, and I kind of did get frustrated with this with Excalibur when he did this. When FTR did DIY's finish, and he actually called it, and he's just like, oh, out of the DIY playbook. I was like, I would have looked at Excalibur and I said, brother, that's a moment where you sound intelligent and you're correct on your call, but you're basically shining two guys that work for the competition. What you do is you can acknowledge it differently. You can say FTR is paying homage to, you know, a recent opponent, whatever, but you don't call it DIY because you're calling out the name of the team. And they both work for the WWE. They work in NXT. They're the competition. I would not have done that. The Steiners, Hart Foundation, Hardy Boys, all that, Dudley Boys, sure. Call it all out. DIY, no. Minor things. I know that you're laughing. You're like, oh, these are all minor things, but they all matter.
Well, I'm laughing because you've named 15 things you don't like. You've named one thing that you do like, that they were dressed like the Lakers and Celtics.
No. They've done. Listen, they did a lot of good stuff in terms of their storytelling. The way this match was laid out, meaning FTR. You know, when Matt Jackson started the match, it was basically like, I understand the psychology of it. Matt Jackson is trying to show that he's not afraid. Right? He's not afraid of FTR, even though he's compromised. He'll start the match. FTR basically said, all right, Playboy, we're gonna mess with your leg, and mess with your leg and mess with your leg, even though you escaped in the beginning, but he had the tag. And then what is FTR doing? They're basically teasing him in the corner. They're like, yeah, next time you come in, brother, that leg's ours. It's good psychology. It's excellent psychology. And as they're telling the match, the Young Bucks are doing the very best of their stuff. You know, a lot of the high flying, the misdirections, the double teams, they're doing all of that. And they're thwarting FTR. When FTR gets the cutoffs, they're basically, you know, they're doing the wrestling moves. They're throwing them out on the floor. They're getting more physical with them. Very, very well done. Now, when they go to the end sequence, at this point, this is where it started being like, okay, they did all the callback finishers. They all kicked out, you know, whether they kicked out on their own or, you know, the partner jumped in. At this point, you're like, all right, we better start going home here. Like, we're cooking. We're pretty pregnant here. It's time to go home. So, you know, they do the Young Bucks do the double, you know, the double sharpshooter spot. You know, one in the ring, one on the ramp. FTR connect hands to try to break the hold, and then Rick Knox is just looking at him like he doesn't realize that it's a rope break. It's a rope break. Break the hold. Rick Knox just stands there. And you know that, you know, Rick Knox is my favorite referee in AEW. You know that I just love hounding on him because he just like misses everything. But should have broken the hold, man. Broken the hold. You know, Matt Jackson with a messed up leg held that sharpshooter for like 2.5 minutes. And I was like, that's great, but you know, sell. You know, you're trying to get the win, but after 2.5 minutes, too long.
You know, Lou. Considering this is wrestling, some of your favorite wrestlers are gonna have similar moments where they have an injury, and you're gonna have to call them out. You're like digging yourself into a nice little hole here where you're not gonna be able to enjoy no wrestling.
Well,
we're doing this show.
Well, here's the thing. I can enjoy. Listen. I enjoyed this match, even though I'm having a lot of criticisms of it. But I did enjoy the match. I thought the match was too long. For 30 minutes, I thought it was too long. The last 5 minutes of the match, you could have done without, because it just was like one thing after another after another. It got to a point where after they did that double sharpshooter spot, you could have gone to the finish right then and there. Right then and there, because FTR could have done the exact same finish, where Nick is on the floor, he's out, Matt's on his own, FTR's got him beat. But just for the team that does no flips, just fists, the one time we're gonna be like, we're gonna hit a flip, we're gonna beat you with a 450 springboard 450 splash, and he gets out of the way, boom, and then Matt Jackson hits him. I would have been like, all right. Now the thing is, when you do all the stuff that came previous to that, the 5 minutes in between one thing and the other, there was like about 10 different finishes there that would have all made sense. Would have all made sense
to me.
And that's something. Listen, it's a stylistic thing. I know it's a stylistic thing. Is that they just do, you know, endless finishes and endless near falls.
No, I think you're wrong. I don't think they did endless finishes. I didn't think the finish. They got me with one false finish.
Oh my God, no.
Yes,
no.
They got me with one. I can tell you which one it is.
Okay.
It was the double. The BTE trigger. What the like double kick?
I know.
I forgot who they. Oh, they hit it on. I always mix up their names. Who's the chubbier one?
On which team?
On FTR.
Oh, Cash Wheeler. Cash Wheeler.
Cash. Dax.
Dax is the bald one.
Yes. Okay. The bald one, who's chubby, because one is just in good shape and one is chubby. Okay, so Dax gets hit with the BTE trigger, and I'm like, it is over.
Yep, and that's when Cash comes in and just.
Cash is so far away, and you and the camera, you don't see him either.
And that could have been the finish, and that would have been fine. That would have been fine.
It would have been fine, but not a freaking masterpiece, classic, all-time great match. Lou, you're gonna have to accept that these guys are trying to have the best possible match.
I get it, but at the same time, look. So you go. I mean, I'm watching. They go from the endless callback finishes. They go to the to the double sharpshooter spot. Then you have Matt Jackson grabbing a chair and Rick Knox looking to his brother Nick to get him to talk. I'd be like, dude, it's either drop the chair or I'm disqualifying you. Done. I'm the referee. I got to take control of the match. FTR hits the spike pile driver on Matt, and it was perfect because he was too close to the ropes. Nicely done, because he should not have kicked out of that, and it was the right way to get out of that move.
It was great.
It was the right thing. So then now Matt Jackson loses the boot. FTR hits a double team, hits the reverse figure 4 on Matt Jackson, and they kept that move on him for a while, and he didn't quit, knowing how much of an ass whipping that leg had taken throughout the course of the match. The fact that Nick didn't interfere, and then Matt was able to get to the ropes. It's just,
Lou, this is classic babyface wrestling. I don't want to hear that. Hulk Hogan's not waiting for someone to save him. Steve Austin's not waiting for someone.
And neither is Matt Jackson.
Neither is Matt Jackson.
This is the type of thing to where this was, like I said, this was a very good match. My criticisms of it are just a matter that little things that I think they did too much of, but it was a very good match. I thought the match was too long. I will say that. I thought the match was too long.
I thought this was as perfect a match. Well, we are going too long, but
no, I thought this match was too long. But
is as good. This is as damn near perfect a freaking match as I've ever seen. I'm just gonna run through this since you couldn't find a way to say something good about it.
I did say good things about it.
You said your 2 good things. We buried it for most of your talk, which I am shocked. I know you don't like the Young Bucks.
I don't like their style. But I thought this was a very good match.
They gave you everything that you probably would ask for, and you're focusing on the weirdest things. It's like, do you even watch wrestling to enjoy it, or do you watch it to see what Excalibur and the referee are doing?
Well, first of all,
Excalibur, forget about the referee. Look at the 4 guys who literally killed themselves to give you a action-packed, fast-paced, good story, good selling, good comeback. Like, they had the callbacks that made sense. Their outfits were part of the story. Everything was part of the story. There was not one thing that was not part of the story. Fist versus flips. FTR, one of them injures their fist. Matt Jackson has a bum leg, so his flips are a little bit compromised. Obviously, he's still gonna do
flips well.
He didn't do all.
You say a little bit compromised, but not really. He did exactly what I thought he would do, is that he hit the move and then he'd sell the leg, and that's fine, because I understand that it's wrestling and he has to do that. I get it. But in actuality, the way that you would really sell it is you try to do it, and then you gracefully fall, meaning that he does it without hurting himself for real any more than he already is, but that it basically is telling the story of he can't do it. He can't do it.
Well,
period.
You can tell that story, of course, and I've seen that story be told before. But I've also seen this story be told before. You can, in a real fight, right? We love realism. In a real fight, you can be injured and perform. You can have a broken hand and perform and make it.
But if you have a broken foot, you can't move around.
Yes, you're right. But you can still fight on a broken foot. How do I know this? Because I watch real fighting. People fight with broken foots. People fight with broken hands. In a real fight, you break stuff.
Correct.
It happens.
It does. But he should. But I mean, listen.
I can't even tell you. I can't tell you a fighter who broke his hand who quit because he broke his hand.
No, because
Can't even think of one.
Because in boxing, your hand will numb up, and once it numbs up, you can throw it. I mean, I've never seen a fight where a person broke their foot, you know, and continues fighting because it destroys your vertical base. The hands I can understand.
You start to get your ass kicked, but they still go. They still go. Like they try to play it off. They don't sell a thing. They don't sell a thing. If you want it to be real, you still fight through it. In a real fight, you're gonna fight through whatever pain you have. You have adrenaline going. You feel it the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you fall on your ass, you in a snowstorm and you land on some ice, and you're like, oh wow, that sucked. The next morning you feel it. But we've gone too long. Anything else on this card that stood out in a good way or in a bad way before we get out of here?
Well, a lot in a bad way, quite frankly.
Okay, so how about you pick something good? You've buried enough for today.
I mean,
all-time great tag team match.
Listen, I think that this event as a whole, this was by far the best pay-per-view that AEW has produced in 2020. But because they had the Omega match was good, the Cody match was I thought was excellent.
So did I.
And the Bucks match was good too. Now you have a lot of nonsense in between that, because you know the Orange Cassidy match was what it was. You know, it was what it was. You know, the women's title match did everything humanly possible to let us know that we are not supposed to in any way, shape, or form look at Nyla Rose as anything in AEW.
I agree with you.
This match solidified that. She's done.
They messed up with Nyla. Even if they have a plan for her, they needed to pull the trigger on her. They needed for her to come off as a badass, and they didn't. This match is the perfect example of everything that's wrong with AEW's women's division, and this has nothing to do with Hikaru Shida, because again, would I have chosen Hikaru Shida to be the champion? The answer is no, but I can admit she is a good talent. She's green in many ways, and in many ways, the stuff that she's done doesn't necessarily translate very well, but she's getting better. The problem is that when you take a look at Hikaru Shida and you take a look at Nyla Rose, you start looking at who can you make money with. Sorry, Hikaru Shida is not it. Not now. Nyla Rose could be. But you got to get rid of Vicky Guerrero, because Vicky Guerrero, God bless her, but she adds nothing to Nyla Rose's presentation. And this match everything was ass backwards. The little woman who should be attacking a body part and trying to get the bigger opponent down, she's doing all the power moves. And Nyla Rose, who's twice the size of Hikaru Shida, is working on her leg, and yet Hikaru Shida was able to superplex her, Falcon Arrow her, backdrop her. Like, really, what else can you do? How else are you going to be able to recover Nyla Rose at this point? You just can't. It's done. The Matt Hardy Sammy Guevara match was 22 minutes of hot garbage. Just, it was what it was. You know, this. I understand creativity notwithstanding. You have to look at these things as a means of what is the aftermath of this. And I've been saying this for a long time, that after the Stadium Stampede match back in May, the Inner Circle lost a lot of their steam as a group in terms of looking at them as a serious heel faction. Now, this match, even if Sammy Guevara lost, even if he lost, you still have to make it to where it's a serious affair. When you add Gangrel, Shane Helms, Private Party, LAX, and the thing is that with Sammy Guevara and LAX, you got to make them look strong, because guess what? If these are supposed to be your main event, you know, in the main event group, heel group, you can't keep doing this type of stuff to them and think that they're going to have any real heat, because they don't have the equity. They don't. So again,
I'm not gonna bore you guys with all the details, but it was just awful. Chris Jericho and MJF, I had high hopes for this match. I had high hopes, and unfortunately, I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I don't think that MJF looked good in this match. Even though he won, he didn't look good. And, you know, the aftermath of what they're doing with these guys, you know, from what they've done on Dynamite and the follow-up, I don't really care. Let's see what happens. I hope that at some point AEW gets it right, but it's not looking good at the moment with these two. You know, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, it was what it was. You know, it's a hardcore match. It is what it is. There's a lot of things about this match that are just silly on its face, but you know, it is what it is. Moxley needed an opponent, somebody he can beat. He was able to beat Kingston. Now it's positioning Moxley now to wrestle against Omega now coming up in December. And they'll get the title match, and let's see what happens there. In all honesty, do I think that Omega wins the first time around? Part of me thinks no. Part of me thinks no. I think Omega loses, and that might be it. Finally turns heel. Because since he didn't do it at this pay-per-view, there has to be a moment when he does. And he can't just beat Moxley and they're still putting crumbs for a heel turn if that's going to happen. At some point they have to commit, and they haven't done so yet. So, like I said, overall, this was better than their last two pay-per-views, but more bad than good. The three matches that were really good for what they were, and everything else was depending on your flavor. You know, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And you know, I fall under the category of I didn't like it. What do you want me to say? I mean,
oh my god!
It
I get it. It's fine.
I mean, listen.
I thought it was more good than bad. But I get it if you don't like Orange Cassidy, the Orange Cassidy match. I get it. If you don't like the Matt Hardy match, I get it. If you don't like the Jon Moxley match, I get it. I totally get it. So it's fine. But I think the three big matches were good enough to carry any pay-per-view where you didn't even need anything else, and that would have been a great pay-per-view. So
the thing is, when you have listen, if you have an 8-match card and you have three good matches, and you know, one match that probably let's say that the Orange Cassidy match, I'll count that as a match that I didn't care about one way or the other. Because I don't really care for Orange Cassidy, and I'm not really into John Silver either. So I'll dib that as to, you know, I don't really care for either one of these guys. They might be able to surprise me, but whatever. The Matt Hardy match, I knew that what I saw was going to be what I was going to get. Like, I knew that going in. I was just hoping that at some point they could, you know, it could be something to where somebody gets over, and unfortunately nobody does. Nobody does at the end of that. There's not a single soul in that match. But I can't even call it a match. That presentation that gets over. Nobody. You know, the Moxley match, you know, after you're watching a 3.5 hours of pay-per-view where you've seen so much, you know, and this is just the thing too for AEW and everybody. I think that the shows need to be shorter. These shows are too long. Just in general, they're just too long. WWE does it. AEW certainly does it. These shows are just too long. It's 5 hours with the pre-show. It's just too long.
I mean, I'm okay with a 4-hour show. I don't mind. So I'm not gonna say if they had monthly pay-per-views, I'd have a problem with 4 and 5 hour pay-per-views. But once every 3 months, I'm gonna get a 4-hour pay-per-view. I mean, they do 2-hour Dynamite, so it's if the pay-per-view is gonna feel bigger, but I mean, I'm okay with a shorter show, but I don't want to. I want to make sure everyone gets enough time.
Yeah, because I mean, this is a show where I could have probably been able to cut half an hour out of this show very easily, without losing any of the matches. Let's say everybody, let's say that Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara had 22 minutes. Snip that by 10. You can cut certain other matches. You can cut 5 minutes out of certain matches here and there. You're going to get easily 30 minutes, 45 minutes back. And the thing is that you're not going to lose the essence of any of those matches. You're not losing because the essence is the same. Yeah, they have less time and they can do fewer things, but the essence of the stories that they're telling are going to be exactly the same. It's just a matter that, or even then you could have even put another match on the card, and let's just say, you make some of the other matches shorter, but you could have added another match on the card. Even if it would have been something to be made as a match that can kind of break the show up a little bit. Some like the Scorpio Sky, Sean Spears match could have been on the pay-per-view. It's kind of like a, break in the middle type thing where, you can have a match that both of these guys, you can kind of believe it, but it's not going to really, you're not really crazy invested, but it can be something to kind of break the show up a little bit. There's a lot you can do here, but like I said, good show. The three matches that were good were really good. Everything else, not so much.
Okay. All right. We're done.
Hopefully, guys, you like it. We'll talk. We'll come back next week. We'll talk to you guys about the Survivor Series. And if you guys only think that I only talk bad about AEW, you're going to realize that you're sadly mistaken at the end of this.
All right. We're out of here.
Like and subscribe, everyone.